Welcome back to Let's Play Populous. I'm about to do number 5 Scott Met. Type it in here. Yeah, a little bit about this. You have to type in the world name correctly, otherwise it just says world not found. The higher the number, the longer it takes to find it, if it exists. And there comes a point where it stops remembering the passwords, but I'll get into that later. It's yeah, later in the series. So yeah, that should be it. Yeah, right, number 5. I can do everything. They can just do floods. I talked about this before. So yeah, let's do it. They only usually do a flood if you take too long. Just in case, if they can likely to do a flood, I usually put it on 2 levels, just in case. Although it does use up slightly more mana using putting the terrain on 2 levels. Just yeah, do that so I can make a castle out of him. Just wait a sec. Has a pretty fast perish rate, so you better let him build quickly. See if I can. No, I won't bother. Sort this one out. Someone came out there because the tent there is the lowest form of settlement, and it has a low capacity. So it doesn't take long to fill it up, and for a person to come out there, the person who does come out is quite weak. But he does come out, and he does make another house. So at the start, if you don't have enough population inside a castle to get someone out, just see if you can, what I call, squeeze a person out, and just keep lowering the quality of the settlement until someone comes out, because you need as many settlements as you can, especially settlement number 9s. There we go. Shield him. Yeah, so even though the terrain is different, the principle is the same. The 9 stages of settlement. So yeah, that's like a corner shop thing, then a sort of chapel, and then a castle type. It's sort of like Desert of the Old West. It's like an old fort sort of thing. Yeah, if the walkers touch the edge of the world, or for some other reason, they will go crazy, which is something like they go around in a circle, and they only snap out of it if they're able to settle, or after a period of time. But if they're weak, they could die, they could perish. So it's best just to snap them out of it quickly by letting them build, or making terrain if they can't build, by lowering a castle. Yeah, still don't have much mana. If he's going the wrong way, then just go to Bubble Magnet to make the leader go towards the centre of the earth, and again, because the good terrain's over here, and he can't do anything if he touches the edge of the world. There we go, another one. Another one. I don't have much mana, it's pretty annoying. You have to be patient. So you just have to know which bits of terrain to lift up, so you create as much terrain with the minimum effort. There we go. Find the leader. See what he's up to. Well, there's a bit of strength in him. Yeah, he builds and walks away because he represents more population than the capacity of the building that he just built, so he won't be able to deposit himself inside it. If he builds it, if there were enough terrain, flat terrain, for him to build to build a one of these, a castle, then he wouldn't walk away unless he were extremely strong. At least nearly maximum orange or any yellow, and he can build a castle and walk away. But only if the terrain, there's enough terrain to allow it. Yeah, I think desert has a pretty fast growth rate. You can see person with the shield is already pretty has a quarter orange, which is pretty fast. But it has a fast perish rate, so anyone not in a settlement will die much more quickly. And as the water's harmful, he will drown very quickly as well. Still building near towns or people, so I can just do that. Oops, used up a bit too much mana there. There we go. It's easiest to create land if you can just sort of raise the terrain in one point and just keep going down like that. So I'm easily winning now. Normally I wouldn't recommend drowning trees, but that tree is in a particular place where someone could build, and because he can't build there, and he can't build there, but he can build there, so I'm going to drown this tree, or cactus. They're represented by cacti in this landscape. Yeah, so I'll show you that now. The button, you press it once, it finds your leader. Press it twice, it finds your purple magnet. Press it 3 times in succession, pretty quickly, it finds their leader, and then it finds their purple magnet. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And my purple magnet is a brown cross, sandy coloured cross, and their one for some reason is a white star with what looks like AMAW written on it. I don't know why it says AMAW on it, or is it AMLAW or AM just AW? That might represent something, I don't know. Someone's initials as a joke, I don't know. But yeah. The rocks in this are sort of Aztec pyramids. The good rocks are just sort of grey rocks, really. See, there's one sort of Aztec pyramid. There we go. Let's do that. Another one. If I leave it long enough, they will eventually do a flood. But if you take care of them before they do a flood, then they won't do one. It's the trouble with building near towns or people. You're in the middle of doing something and then they walk off screen. There we go. They can kill themselves when they do a flood if water's fatal. They just seem to do one anyway. They usually tend to do a flood when they're on if they can do them, and if they're on very low rating. Whoops! There we go. Whoops! It's the trouble with two-tier terrain. You have to get more down to drown things. Alright. So it's very easy to get ahead on the early worlds. There's not much. I haven't done anything yet. I haven't done any power or anything. I've just been building non-stop. That's the most important thing. Just keep building. See, he represents a lot of population now. So if I get him out, see, he's 2/3 orange. When they usually come out naturally from a castle, they usually only have like a quarter orange, and they leave a lot of population in the castle, which has plus points and negative points. If it's in a particular location where it's likely to be attacked, then it'll fend off attack quite easily. But if you get all the strength out, all the population out by doing this trick, then and it's in a vulnerable area, then it leaves it likely to lose an attack. That's the trouble with this technique. It saps all the population from the castle, leaving it very weak. It's not really a problem. See, he has maximum yellow now. It never seems to get that last notch. It just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. But it never visually goes past that maximum yellow bit. They might do a flood eventually, if you leave it long enough. It depends how fast you do it. So it's best to be prepared. So there he is. He's very strong now, to make a knight. I usually like to make another leader because it means I get more points at the end, but they all sort of gather into him. There we go. And then just put it back on settle. So he's built a castle and walked away because he's very strong. You see, he represents that population. That's more than a castle can hold. Now he's off. Oh, whoops. Just let him do his thing. Oh, their leader's off. Yeah, sometimes if they can't do anything, I just sort of invade like that. He's pretty strong as well. He's going to fight my leader, and he's going to win. That might cause a flood? No, I thought I might get a punishment flood for that. He's nearly lost. Put it on fight and settle, and he'll lose. There, he's lost now. There we go. And he leaves his purple magnet behind, because he's dead. Yeah, sometimes evil cropland can sort of interfere with your cropland, so it's best to get an offending house up. If at all possible, it's always best to end the world with Armageddon, because it seems to get you more points and makes you jump worlds more. I don't know, because it's actually an easy way out. It'd be more difficult if you had to, and take longer if you had to do the world normally. That's just the way it is. Get that down. There we go. You don't have to get these down, I just like to anyway. How's he doing? See, now I have a knight, it'll just find him, not the walkers. Centers the close-up map on him. That usually prevents making a ruined settlement. See, they're the good rocks in this, sort of bluey, greeny, grey. Still Armageddon now. See, they didn't do a flood. Yeah, I didn't let them get powerful enough. So my knight has turned back into a walker. You'll see him eventually. There he is. And just wait for the inevitable. Takes some time sometimes. Look at it. Come on. There we go. Mooring Hill rather. So I'm still well done mortal. And they can do stuff now, earthquakes, swamps and volcanoes. And they're only low now, not very low. So slightly harder, but still extremely easy really. Start off with 2 people. So this is snow and ice. It's pretty much the same as desert. In fact, it has a fast perish and drown rate. But it yeah, to find your other house, just press find battle. But I think the difference is between this. Yeah, it has a fast drown and perish rate, like desert. But I think the growth rate is slow. In desert, the growth rate is fast, whereas here the growth rate is slow. There we are. That'll do. I only started off with 2 people, so that's my 2 people done. I don't have enough. Oh no, there's someone out already. This could be fast as well, actually. I don't know. It's only. No, it's still building near towns, all people. But he's quite weak coming out. He only had enough population to build 1 house. Take care of that. Get down as many of the rocks as possible, like that. Get him out. Whoops, that's annoying. Never mind. As long as he makes another one. That's the leader. Get the leader out again. There we go. Oh, it's on the edge. You can't do floods, so don't only make it. You always want to make it single tier because it's uses the least amount of mana, and it's easier to drown things like knights and leaders and things and rocks. So always make it single tier unless there's a high chance of them doing a flood. That's the way I always do it anyway. So back over here. Join on with the rest of the gang. So, yeah, this is pretty much it really. I mean, I'll explain about how many worlds there are now. It said in the instruction manual that there are... I'll just sort this bloke out. Please do something. There we go. It said in the instruction manual that there are 5,000 worlds, and on the back of the box. And if you play the game long enough, you will eventually get to world the 5,000th world. Now, seeing as there's a world naught, the 5,000th world is world 4,999, which was long heralded as the last world in the game in various magazines. I won't say that. Well, you can find out the name on any site really. It's Killer Goal. And it was heralded as the last world in the game. But if you play it and complete it, because it's actually quite easy in my opinion, you won't complete the game. The game doesn't end after that world. It goes on to the post 5,000 worlds. I can't remember the particular names, but usually when I do Killer Goal, I usually end up on world 5009. I usually jump 10. Or jump 9, so I usually jump 9 to get on 5009. 1, 2, yeah, that's a jump of 9, which is the maximum. Yeah, so I usually go on to 5009, which is the next one, but the game sort of goes back to normal. I mean, after every sort of the game, as you progress through the worlds, the game gets sort of easier and harder. It gets harder and harder until it passes like about 200 worlds or so. Then it gets easier, and then it goes harder again. And after about 1,000 worlds, it gets back to being easy again, and it slowly goes harder, more or less. So when you pass Killer Goal, you get to 5009. Everything's easy again, and you can keep playing the game after 5,000 until you get to world. That is until you get to world 5,120, I think, which is called 5,120 is called Josamy, and the world before that is 5,119. So if you play from Killer Goal all the way to actually another 100 worlds or so, you get to 5,119, which is called Duosic. And the passwords still work. You put your password in, and it works fine for Duosic. But then you do Duosic, and you get to a world after it, whatever it's called. But I know this starts happening for 5,120, which is called Josamy. So the password works for 5,119 Duosic, and as soon as you start on any world after 5,120 Duosic, if that's the one you get up to, you try to put the password in 5,120 Josamy, and it refuses to recognise the password, even though that was the password you got. When I first did that, I thought I put the password in wrong, so I did it again, and the same password came wrong, and I wondered why the password wouldn't work. I don't particularly know why the password stopped working, but there's speculation, so I'll speculate. So that's why it says on the back of the box it says 5,000 worlds, because it's sort of you're forced to give up after 5,120 because the passwords don't work anymore. You can't. You complete a few worlds after it, and you try and put your password back in, and it won't work. So quick. On another note, get rid of this tree, because this is the only. Because if you notice, I can't build there, or there, because that's next to a castle. But I could build there, but the tree's in the way, so that's the only time you want to get rid of a tree, because the cropland wouldn't be able to get rid of a tree. Anyway, so you start to so the passwords don't work anymore, and so there are really 5,000 worlds in the game, because you can't really go any further. However, you can go further if you just play the game and don't turn off the Master System. Then you can just keep going. I mean, the furthest I ever got with that strategy was up to, I mean, I just kept playing on for hours, and it took me up to level 5,300, but it still didn't end there. So it was about early in the morning, and I just turned it off, and I was tired. So I gave up then, but that wasn't the end of my little adventure with trying to get to the end of this game. So so fast forward that a few years until I first get into emulators and save states, and all of a sudden it occurred to me I could get to the end. I could just carry on after 5,120 Josami with save states. So I tried that, and I ended up getting past 5,000. And this is all because the passwords no longer works. There's no way of loading it up again. Just to remind you, so I ended up getting to 5,300, 5,400, 5,500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and eventually I got to world 5,999, whose name I cannot remember, but 5,199 or 95 or whatever, because that's something else I have to tell you. World types, landscape, the world types. If you notice, like for this one, for example, is snow and ice, low, very slow, and we start off with 2 population each, and evil can just do earthquakes, swamps and volcanoes, and I can do everything. That type repeats itself every 5 worlds. So if you remember Genesis's type, where it's grassy plains, I can do everything. Evil can do nothing. We both start off with 3 people. Swamps are bottomless, water's fatal. That sort of type. That type repeats itself for every 5 worlds. So world 0 is like it. Yeah, I just drowned him there just to get rid of that rock. It doesn't matter. So world 0 is like it. World 1 is like the same as Genesis. World 2, 3, and 4 are all so 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 will all share the same attributes, i.e. Genesis attributes, but they will only they will be different slightly, and the difference between them is the layout of the terrain at the start, but all the other attributes will be the same. Sometimes the layout at the start will be different enough to make it either easier or harder, but so this world type, this is number 10, I think. This one will repeat itself. I think it's number 10 or something like whatever it is. It repeats itself every 5 worlds. So if you remember Skotkumet, that was the first of that type, where they can do floods only, and it's desert and everything, and I can do everything, and water's harmful. That would repeat itself for world 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and I think this is number 10. And so this world will repeat itself for 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. The name will be different and everything, and the number, but the attributes will be the same. And the only difference is that the layout at the start is different, and the location of the population at the start. It's the only difference. So number 8 is called Eoa Zord, I think, and that's the same attributes as Skotkumet, but again it's slightly different layout at the start. Anyway, so I got to world 5,995 with emulators and save states, and as I just said, it repeats itself every 5 worlds. So 5,995, 6, 7, 8, and 9 will all be the same type, and the world type was a different type of world. It was it was a glitch world. The world information screen was normal enough, except that the landscape, it wasn't either grassy plains, rock and lava, desert, snow and ice, futuristic or bitmap. It's a landscape out, and it was just completely. It was a glitched world, and the game crashed, and it corrupted my save state with the emulator. So I did it all again, got up to it again, and I discovered that, you know, about 1 out of 10 tries, or 9 out of 10 tries, the game would crash. But I actually managed to. But 1 out of 10 tries, or more or less, it will work, and I won the game spontaneously. I'll show you when I get up to it. On my guide on Game FAQs, I have links to some screenshots of it if you want to have a look on Game FAQs. If you can find which FAQ is mine, just search for Populous Master System, and there are 2 on there. Or 2 or 3 on there, or whatever. My one's the 3 on there, I think, and my one's the biggest one. 130 kilobytes, my one is, I think. And yeah, so after that, I did actually manage to do the world. I thought that was the end of the game, but it wasn't. I managed to get past that when it didn't crash, because it will crash 9 times out of 10, but it didn't crash. And I just managed to complete it somehow, just at random, because it's just all random on it. I'll show you when I get up to it. And I got to level 6,000, and then, believe it or not, I actually got to the next glitch worlds, which were 6,995 to 9. I did those worlds, got to level 7,000, and then I got up to level 7,995, but unfortunately when I completed that, it only took me on to level 7,997, which is of the same type, and I just could not do that one. It was completely glitched up again, and it kept crashing. I did it about 100 times, and it still wouldn't work, so I gave up. Yeah, I've nearly done this world, actually, but I haven't even done the thing. I'm seriously winning. Yeah, so I gave up at that point, just thought it never ended. But about a month ago, I was, you know, a very good site I mentioned in my other FAQ, my other playthrough videos is smspower.org. Now over there on their cheat section is a Populous for Master System, a Populous world name generator. And you can actually get the maximum number of worlds. And I had a bit of a conversation with one of the moderators over there called Maxim is his name, and had a bit of a conversation with him about it. And yeah, I actually, with help from a hex editor, I managed to get the I managed to tweak the game a bit with a hex editor, edited the game file, the ROM, so that it carried on. It didn't stop remembering the passwords at 5,120. It remembered them now, so I tweaked it just with a slight value editing with a hex editor, and so I could actually get past the worlds and still remember them. But I didn't use that. I didn't get far using that. What I needed to do was I could now type in the password for the glitch worlds, and so I could just show you them immediately. So I have the hacked ROM. I'm using the hacked ROM at the moment, but when I get up to the world with 5,120, I'll use the normal ROM just to show you that it doesn't work, and then I'll use the hacked ROM to continue if I choose to do that. But I think I'll do another way to show you the rest of the game. So now I did that, and I got to the end of the actually got to the last world in the game, which is, I can't remember, it's 36,182 or something. I know, ridiculous. I mean, if I'd have carried on after 7,000, it would have taken me a year to get up to that legitimately, if the glitch worlds had actually worked, which they didn't on 7,197. I just couldn't get that one to work. So yeah, I got up to 36,000, because you can just type in any number and it comes out with the world name. Try it. I mean, for a long time when I was younger, I kept trying to find every name of every world by getting onto it. I mean, I did Genesis so badly that I got up to world number 2 and wrote it down. No, world number 1, which is Hurt Out Ord, but I couldn't, and I got up to world 3, which is Timu Slug, but I could never get up to world number 2 and complete it. So I looked it up on there, and it was a bit of a liberation trying to find that one, because that one always eluded me as a child, number 2. But That's can't remember what that's called, but it begins with a J. Anyway, so so yeah, you can just type in the word. It says on the name generator on smspower.org up to 36,182 or whatever it is. It's on my guide and on smspower.org if you want to have a look at it. And so I went on the forum and asked Maxim, how do I actually, type in these worlds, because it stops working. So he said just use a hex editor, so I did, and I got up to world 36,182 or whatever it is, the last world in the game. And so I did that world expecting it just to glitch up and be the end of the game, just to go back to the start, but it didn't. It actually led me on to Scotcumet, which, as you know, I've already done, is world number 5. But, and this is a big but, it wasn't the Scotcumet you knew, that we all know with Desert. It was the same attributes. No, not the same attributes. It was the same layout, terrain layout at the start, except it was rock and lava and different attributes. And they could do different. Oh, I've just won, just spontaneously. I'll go on to the next world. Outond. So I jumped 5. They can just do swamps, and it's rock and lava. And yeah, this will repeat itself for 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, the same type. But the only thing different will be the terrain layout at the start. So I'll do this one. Yeah, so the what was I saying? Yeah, so it was Scotcumet, but it was rock and lava with different attributes. Evil could do different things, and water, fate, or whatever, different attributes, but the same layout. And so I asked Maxim about that, and he said, logically, because of programming, I don't really understand programming very well, but he just said possibly the game the worlds repeat itself, so they're all the same world names. They're all the same world names, but just with different attributes, and the terrain is the same and everything. But it probably only repeats itself once, and then after that it would go back to the beginning. I.e., the number would still be high, but it would go back to Genesis proper. Because I put in the world immediately after the last one, and it was Genesis, but it was what was it? I think it was Genesis, but it was Desert, I think, Desert or Rock and Lava, instead of Grassy Plains. And so I typed, so I did that word. It got me onto Scotcumet, and then I realised it was the same. But the world 36,000, that's the one that's like Genesis. That's the one that looks exactly like Genesis, except it's rock and lava. Yeah, that's right. It looks exactly like Genesis, except it's rock and lava, and the name is different. But after you do that, you actually get onto Scotcumet proper. It's actually called Scotcumet, and it was rock and lava also. But of course, if you type in Scotcumet again, it takes you to the normal Scotcumet, which is world number 5. So there is no way of finding out if the worlds do repeat themselves just once and then go back to Genesis proper, Genesis Prime, if you like, without doing 36,182 worlds again in order, because any world name, even with the little hack I put in, meaning that the game doesn't forget the worlds, would just take me back to the original world, not the repeated one. So I'm afraid Maxim wasn't too sure about whether the worlds repeat themselves once or maybe again after another one, but he thought once because of some programming thing or something, because 8 bits or 16 bits. I didn't really understand it, but yeah. So what I'm going to do in this playthrough is I'm not really going to do all the worlds. I mean, I'm not going to get naturally up to 5,000 because it would just take me ages, and the worlds are just, they're like this really. Sometimes you just jump loads and sometimes you don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few, maybe get up to 100 with this one. Then I'm going to maybe skip to world 1000. I have got it up to killer goal 4999 legitimately without any cheat before. So it takes ages, and I'll end up doing about 1,000 videos of it, of just me doing these worlds. I just want to show you the main things really. So yeah, what I'll do is I will show you the first 100 worlds, and then after 100 or so, whatever, and then I'll get up, and then I'll skip to world 1000, and then I'll do another 100 there, then world 2000, 100 there, and 3000, 4000, etc. And then hopefully, oh, my leader's died. And then hopefully I'll be able to show you the glitch worlds, and I'll show you where the passwords stop working, and then I'll carry on doing it with my hacked ROM that I've created with the hex editor, which I have. And then after I do that, show you a glitch world. The glitch worlds repeat themselves every 1000 after that, and you know, so 6995 is glitch, 7995 is glitch, 8995 is glitch, I think, but I never got up to that one. But you can test it out with the hacked ROM, I suppose. Yeah, so every 1000 worlds, glitch worlds repeat itself. Maybe that's so Maxim and I was sort of we had a conversation, and we thought that maybe they stopped the passwords working on purpose. Well, they must have done, really, because they didn't want people to get up to the glitch worlds, and the glitch world might have been an abandoned attempt at a last ever world, at a landscape that never was, if you like. Or perhaps it was just a programming bug that they just couldn't fix, so they just sort of stopped the worlds at 5120, stopped the passwords from working, just so they wouldn't, just so it would make it pretty much impossible for anyone to get up to the glitch worlds naturally. I mean, if you got up to the glitch worlds on a Master System without a ROM or save state, in all likelihood, unless you were very lucky, the game would crash. And unless you had a Master System 1 with a reset button, you wouldn't be able to get up to it again. So I suppose you could do it naturally, but you'd have to have a Master System with a reset button, because reset it doesn't restart the game, it takes you straight back to the world information screen on this game. So yeah, so the glitched landscape out, as it's called, it could be either an abandoned attempt that they never got round to finishing of a last ever world with a different landscape, or just a programming error that they couldn't really bypass, and so they just sort of stopped the passwords from working there so that no one would get up to it and discover it. But it's there. So yeah, that's the two theories as to why the glitch worlds are there. But that's obviously why they stopped the passwords from working, obviously because those glitch worlds didn't want anyone getting up to that. So that's obviously why they did that. But yeah. So in these playthroughs I'll just do some worlds and show you the different strategies and tips for it, but I just thought I'd show you the what happens at the end now. Well, tell you what happens now. Yeah, they just swamped me. Doesn't really matter. Little rocks here. Yes, that's why on the back of the box they say, you know, 5,000 worlds. It doesn't really have 36,000 worlds plus, because you can just keep going after that and do the 36,000 again, but with slightly different attributes, and then it possibly ends, but I'll never know. I might know one day, who knows. I'm certainly not doing 36,000 worlds in a row, that's not going to happen. Take me about a decade. But yeah, that's what happens, and I'll hopefully be able to show you that in these videos. When I first got up to glitch worlds, I thought that was the end, but I was actually able to do it, and I was really disappointed when I could get to world 6,000. I thought, oh no, more. But yeah, it does. The last world is 36,000, because then the passwords repeat themselves. So anyway, so I managed to do these worlds so easily. I mean, I'll just show you it's a volcano them and get this over and done with quickly. You just want to volcano them mercilessly, because it gets their houses up, makes their walkers perish by walking around, and makes it so that if they have no houses they can't make any more population. So volcanoes are very good, better than earthquakes, because earthquakes are easy to repair and they don't create rocks. So yeah, put it on fight and settle, and that'll kill the rest of them. It's pretty, you know, I don't know if they'd have this sort of game now, because the object of the game is to exterminate the other side, just because they worship a different god. You have to exterminate them. You know, it's the only way to make the world complete is to kill every person. There's no conversion or anything, or no hope. You have to kill them all. That's the nature of the game. Oh, we won that one. Get that person out. As soon as you hit Armageddon, press it. Just wait a sec. Yep, now. Yeah, I forgot to mention in Rock and Lava. Yeah, the water is actually lava. Although it doesn't behave like lava. It just is lava. It just looks like lava. The perish rate is medium in this, and the drown rate is medium as well. It's faster than Grassy Plains, but not as fast as desert. I'll just pause it. The good Papal Magnet, as you can see, is a sort of brown wooden cross. The evil one is what can only be described as a sort of bedside table, dressing table with a mirror. That's what it looks like, at least. Yeah, the trees are just sort of, it's like volcano. It's like sort of Italy, and the houses are sort of like Italian-looking houses and like volcanoes, because Italy is pretty mountainous, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, the bad rocks are white, and if I can find it, the good rocks are just sort of not brown, grey. Yeah, like that. Yeah, grey. They're the good rocks, and they're the bad rocks. That's about it, really. So just complete this world. And then I'll do one more, I think. That's the end of that. Shad Ted. Futuristic. Everything and nothing. This is quite easy, but they're averaging it, so they're slightly cleverer. So yeah, this is futuristic. Everything's all sort of well, not modern. It looks sort of like computery and sort of 3D. The trees are sort of cones and cylinders. The houses are sort of I'll show you one of these houses actually. Houses sort of a tent, then a sort of a weird sort of brown tent thing like that, and then a sort of purple pyramid, sort of futuristic, and then a sort of tri-bar thing. Don't know what it is. It's weird, and then a sort of multicoloured. No, that's wrong. Multicoloured tetrahedron. No, pyramid. Then a glass pyramid thing. Then a glass cube. And then a sort of blue and white sphere. And then a blue and white sphere castle. I don't know what they're supposed to be. Yeah, that's the good rocks are blue and the bad rocks are brown. And the water's just that, really. The Papal Magnet's exactly the same. My one is a cross, and their one is just a brown skull. I'll move it just to show you the brown skull. So it's used a bit of mana doing that, because it's early in the game. And there's their skull, the evil green-eyed skull. Yeah, and that's futuristic. One more thing, the perish rate is really slow in this. It's as slow as Grassy Plains, and the drown rate is really slow as well. So you don't have to worry too much about your walkers perishing. But if you want to drown a knight or a leader, you're going to have difficulty. A lot of difficulty. It'll take ages. I don't know what the growth rate is in this. I mean, I think it's pretty slow actually. That's it, lots of castles. I don't know what that green thing is. It's like a tri-bar thing. It's just arches or something. It's just absolutely strange. It gives me a headache looking at it, to be honest. Trying to work out what it is. Water's all sort of futuristic looking, sort of squares. Although how this is futuristic, I don't know. It's this vision of the future. Everyone's living in glass houses and multicoloured pyramids. Right. Yeah, I think the growth rate is pretty slow on this. See, it's taking a while for the people to come out, I think. But you know, the mechanic, no matter what the landscape, the mechanics of the game are the same. Everything's pretty much the same. Kill him, and my mana will shoot up as a reward. Hopefully. There you go. That's a reward mana, I like to call it. I knew I'd win that battle. See, you don't have to shield them to know you win a battle, because my leader came out of a castle, and his leader had obviously been wandering around for ages because their territory's over here. And what's he doing up there? It would have taken ages to walk over there, so he's obviously hasn't come out of a castle, he's just wandering around. So I knew he'd be weaker. Although it's not an absolute, it was a small chance that he would have won that, but it's unlikely at this stage in the game. Early on, everyone's usually weak. So if you're unsure, just shield him. But I didn't need to. Again, keep everything 1 tier because it makes it easier to drown things, and you use less mana to create land. The higher the terrain, the more terrain you have to make it flat. I don't know about the growth rates actually. I mean, this one's pretty fast as well. I just don't know. Some trees there. Sounds like a little transparent cube, that one. The only real difference, the only discernible difference between landscapes is the perish rate and the drown rate. That's the most noticeable one. Like that. There you go, big castle. No, he's lost it. You can build one there. One there. Just lower a bit. No, he's missed his chance. Yeah, sometimes they don't find the land very well. It's just luck. I can do everything and they can do nothing, so they're in a real difficult situation. I'm not going to do Armageddon this time. I want to show you to win the world with other means. Because Armageddon, even though you get loads of points for it, it's a bit easy. So this is interesting. See, this is the drown rate. There we go. See how slow it is in futuristic. So as soon as all his energy's gone, his strength is gone. It's not his energy, it's just how much population he represents. As soon as all his population in the walker is gone, he dies. No, he's chilling out in there. Keep getting people out like that and just leaving them to it now, and they'll find their way to the leader. Sometimes they remain in the castle and you have to wait a bit longer for them to come out because of randomness. Yeah, you can eventually make the whole world flat land. It looks pretty ridiculous. You just won that castle from me somehow. Yeah, sort of loses the character of the world, I think, a bit. Yeah, he'll be ready now, that leader. Yeah, make him a knight now. And as soon as you get a new leader, put it on put it on settle. Oh, he's really strong as well. Look, can make 2 knights. Knights don't usually gather into each other unless they're forced to. Then now gather into each other. If they're fighting the same house, then now gather into each other. Otherwise, they won't. Yeah, evil cropland on. I mean, ruined cropland on this looks like that. It's weird. Futuristic ruined cropland. Yeah, 2 knights is better. They will go after different people, but eventually, when the supply of evil settlements and walkers dwindles, they'll just sort of eventually go after the same one, and they'll gather. They will gather with walkers, and they'll wait for a walker to gather into them, which is good because it tops up their population level a bit. Put on fight and settle now. Actually, no, make another leader. You can make loads of knights, but the more you make, the more likely they are that they'll go into each other. They'll gather into each other. So you make like about 10 knights, then you'll find at the end of the game you only have 2 or something. I think the most knights I've ever ended a world with is 3, because they end up just gathering into each other. Knights are the best, really. I mean, you only very rarely want to do a flood when there's as a last resort, really. There are a few worlds where I do a flood on them, because it's really difficult when they create population really quickly and you want to get rid of a load of their population in one go. A flood is very useful, but not in a situation like this, because to do a flood properly you have to make all your terrain 2 tiers, and it takes ages. Otherwise you'll end up losing as much population as evil do, which is something you don't want to do. So yeah, another knight. A little bit of yellow is enough really for a knight, or maximum orange, as long as he has enough population in him to do a fair bit of damage. Because a fight is pretty much cancelling out population. It's like matter and antimatter, they'll cancel each other out. Now that's interesting. They're winning some more castles. He'll sort them all out there. Yeah, all a fight is, I mean, if you have 2 walkers who represent equal amount of population, they're both the same power bars, they'll just the fight will end with no one alive. They'll cancel each other out. That's all that matters in a fight, just population level and the strength of the walker. Basically, what happens in a fight is that the weaker walker will die, and the stronger walker will lose that amount of population the weaker walker represented. That happens in knights as well. So every time the knight fights, he loses a bit of his population as it cancels out. You see, they're going to gather into each other now. Even though I had my 3 knights have gone into 2, and they're going to gather now. They'll only gather when they're forced to, even though they're right next to each other. They'll only gather when they're forced to. So they'll probably gather now. Yeah, they'll gather now. There we go. And they're together. Ugh. And that's that. Sad Willow. That's 23, so I jumped 3 for doing that. So it's the same type, see? Still futuristic, still 6-3, still yes, and no. And I'll do that next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.